Anyway, so I'm going to try this with a company called Monash IVF. POGKEE says, "Hi Kneppy, could you have a look at Monash IVF for me? They've sunk on the recent lawsuit settlement, which sunk the profit. However, from what I looked at, revenue is up 20% as well as profit excluding the settlement. Through that, I suppose there to be some decent value based upon a short-term reaction to a one-off item." What you're talking about here is something I agree with. So what has happened to this company with the profit, the reported profit falling, is that a one-off or is that a serious issue with the company? And it seems like Poji, you've already figured it out yourself. It seems like maybe this is a one-off. And if you like the value of the company, that is up to you. Let's have a look at the chart. Actually, no, what we'll do is we're going to have a look at this. MVF. I am not a shareholder of this company. I have never owned shares in this company. I've also noticed FinChat has changed the outlook, or not the outlook, the main page here. According to this, I own a company. Oh, wait. Is the CEO of Monash Mr. Michael D. Knapp? This might be the most exciting news of the day. Our business, about our people. Oh, where's the management? Management, here we go, management. Mr. Knapp. Not only that, his middle name, or his middle initial is D. My middle initial is D. So I just saw Michael D and went, what? They got this wrong. I'm definitely not a doctor. Michael Knapp. It's a little bit different than mine, slightly different, but it's the same sort of area. Holds a Bachelor of Accounting from Monash University and is a certified practicing accountant. That's exciting. I did not realize that. There you go. That's the most exciting news of the day. There's a CEO who is almost the same name as me. There's not many Nepps in Australia. In fact, I might be the only family. My family might be the only Nepps in Australia. There might be a few Neeps, K-N-E-I-P-P, few Naps, K-N-A-P-P. I've never heard of Knapp, K-N-A-A-P. That's an unusual one. Anyway, so when I look at a company, I just quickly, particularly if I'm looking at the company for the first time, I just look at simple things like the P ratio for these companies. It's not relevant because they actually were loss-making, and there is a reason that loss-making is they had a lawsuit or something, and that's why they were loss-making. If you take out that law case or whatever you call it, they were, in fact, I'm going to tell you right now. If you go to MVF, if you have a quick look at, say, their results announcement, the media results, so they reported a loss. In my opinion, don't look at the reported loss. Look at the underlying profit. That gets a better indication of how the company is performing. And they do mention that on the first bullet point. They delivered 17% growth in financial year 24 underlying profit to 29.9 million. And their second bullet point, they report a net loss after tax of 5.9 million. Included in this reported net loss after tax is the estimated 32.6 million loss after tax attributable to the settlement of the NIPGT class action. So that's a one-off. It seems like that is a one-off, right? So the better profit to look at in this case is the underlying profit. So when you go back to FinChat, it just says that the P ratio is negative by a big number because they reported a loss. So if you go back to their underlying profit, we'll say $30 million, roughly $30 million. Nice growth, by the way. So the market cap of the company is 475 million. So the real PE ratio of this company is more like 15, not negative 71. That's the way I look at profit, because profit, won't say can be manipulated, but it can be deceiving. So if someone didn't know anything about this company and they only looked at profit, they went, oh, I'm going to stay well away from this company. It's not profitable. And the other thing I like to look at for companies is margins, gross margins, 33.6%. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm believing FinChat numbers are right. So that can be fraught with danger. I have noticed a few times different platforms can be wrong with their numbers. but they tend to be fairly good at what they do. The other thing I look at is returns. I like to call this quality. They call it returns 5-year average. Down the bottom left. So, for instance, return on equity for this company is 7.2%. Return on invested capital 5.8. Return on capital employed 8.7. These are 5-year averages. I prefer those to be above 10. That's just my own personal preference. PE is a different thing. It's different for each company. But return on equity, return on invested capital, overall, I do prefer those to be above 10. The other thing I look at is valuation metrics, like other valuation metrics apart from price to earnings, price of free cash flow, which would be positive because they're free cash flow positive. So 14.87. You could also look at the forward growth. So the PEG ratio is negative 14. But again, because of negative earnings you probably can't look at that. EV, EBITDA, price to free cash flow. Also like to see EV to free cash flow yield. I also look at how much debt do they have. So apparently, according to this, they have a net debt of 124 million. That can be important. Debt to equity 0.55. And another thing I like to look at is past growth. So this company has been growing their revenue. Now, not revenue per share. I do prefer revenue per share growth. But revenue has been growing at about 8% over the last 10 years. This is per year. Earnings per share over the past 10 years has been negative. So that's something to keep in mind. So if revenue has been growing, but earnings per share has been dropping, that could mean two things. Margins have been dropping, or the company has been doing some capital raising. So shares on issue have been increasing. And you can have a look at that in the financial section of the main page. Dividends, dividend per share growth over the last 5 years, negative 3.58. Dividend yield 4.1%. Another thing I'd like to consider when I'm looking at a company, any company, is the quality. Where does it fit on the quality spectrum? Is Monash IVF Group a high quality company? And that is something I think each individual investor needs to discover or come to the conclusion themselves. I can't tell you if Monash IVF Group is a high or low quality company. That's for you. How do you come to that conclusion? Do you look at management? Do you look at the growth in revenue? Do you look at return on equity, return on invested capital? Do you think about the sector, that sort of thing? Or maybe you just think of the CEO. If he has a really cool name, that's a high quality company. So if that was my way to decide whether this company was high quality or low quality, I would say this is the highest quality company on the ASX. Maybe not quite top, because if another company came along and they had a CEO who was named Michael D. Knapp, I would put that company above. But Michael D. Knapp definitely belongs near the top. If that is your criteria for deciding whether a company is low quality, or as I say, where it fits in the quality spectrum. So those are all the things I would do with Monash IVF Group if I was studying this company a little bit more. So let's have a look at the chart for Monash. Now, another thing I do is if I consider this company to be high quality, I probably would look at the chart less. It comes to valuation. Do I see some good value in this company? Now, if I consider the company to be a lower quality, I will have a look at the chart. So for me, it all comes back to valuation when it is a high quality company. Is this good value or just fair value? When it's a lower quality company, valuation does matter to a certain extent, but I also like to look at the chart. And at this point in time, Monash IVF Group, not quite there just yet. Not quite there just yet. So that's how I decide on, that's what I would do if I was looking at in depth into this company. Hopefully that makes sense. The chart does not look good. But again, if you do see some value at $1.14, oh, go ahead. If you like the company, go ahead. Yeah, it's all up to you. Okay. I'm going to end it there. And the last thing I should mention is if you need financial, I'm not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.